The story that I'm going to tell you is written and told by a local teller who's passed away now, but he lived up in Burbank, and his name is Geoffrey Lewis. Wrote and told all the stories and gave me permission to tell them as well. So I'd like to share one of his stories. It's called The Dwarf. I'm going to tell you the story in the way that Geoffrey Lewis always told it, which is from the perspective of the dwarf. I wanted to get even. I wanted to let people know how I feel in the deep of my heart. My back is bent and my face is ugly. And whenever I walk down the street, the women hide their children, the old men spit, and the young boys and girls throw things at me. Even the priest who raised me and taught me to speak could hardly look at me. And so, in 1881, I snuck away from the village in the night, and I made my way to Paris. There, I thought, the people are more free, and I could go unnoticed. But it was not to be. There, it was the same. So one night, I was sitting in my little room, looking out the window across the Seine, through the mist, to the great cathedral, Notre Dame. And I realized what I should do. And so, early in the next morning, I ran out of my room and down the street to the little hotel where I was employed, taking out the sewage and sweeping the walk. I worked quickly, for I had to be gone by mid-morning in order to carry out my plan. In my haste, I tipped over one of the chamber pots. A large concierge, red-faced man, he kicked me and threatened to terminate my employment. And then when I was on my hands and knees, cleaning up, I thought to myself, today I will get even with you. Later, I was out in the front sweeping the walk. Two lovely young ladies came down the street. They were dressed in bustles and accompanied by their young gentlemen friends. As they drew near, I quickly stepped aside. I hid my face. I thought, today, I will get even with you too. A carriage rolled by and splashed muddy water on me, and I shouted out, if you only knew what was in store for you. And then the chimes of the great cathedral had rung out, and I knew I had not much time. And so, I ran down the street back to my little room, hardly hearing the curses of people I bumped into along the way. I was singing to myself, you will see, you will see. And then in my room I washed very carefully and put on my best jacket to hide the tear in my shirt. And then I ran out of my room, down the steps, down the street, across the bridge and out into the great square before the cathedral. It was teeming with people all beautifully dressed and conversing in just the right tones of solemnity. I watched as they filed into the church, and I thought, very soon now, very soon, you will know how I feel. I ran down along the side of the church, under the great buttresses where there was a door that said, for priests only. I stepped inside. It was very dark. I made my way up a circular staircase There was a balcony at the top and a small organ. From here I could look out, and I could see the whole congregation. The only sound was of their shuffling feet as they made their ways to their pews. And then it was silent. The priest stepped out. The people, they dropped to their knees and they bowed their heads. Now, I thought, now I will show you how I feel in the deep of my heart. I sat down at the organ. My feet could barely touch the pedals, and I began to play. All the feeling that had been locked inside of me for so long poured out of my hands and feet and into the organ and out into the great cathedral. A shaft of sunlight shot through the great stained glass window like a rapier, flooding the floor with rainbows of colors. As the ecstasy continued to pour out of me through my hands and feet, the roof of the cathedral folded back to reveal the warm sun, and it shone down upon us, down into every crevice. One by one, the people rose from their knees to gaze into the light. Some of them held out their arms with joy. Others, they folded their hands in quiet prayer. And still others began to laugh as they had never laughed before. And as I continued to fill the air with music, the sky itself folded back to reveal the great white light of infinity, and it shone down upon us and filled us all with blinding ecstasy. Life has not been easy for me, and nor has it changed. And to this day, no one knows who was playing that organ. But I do. And I will die content, knowing that for one great moment, I let the people know how I feel.